Here's the basic idea. If you own an individual stock, like I own Apple, and I got a notice from my brokers that say, hey, it's time to vote. I get to vote on the board of directors, certain policy decisions that get made, and that voting is important. Now, let's imagine you don't own individual shares of companies. You own index funds. You don't get to vote. Why? Because you don't own the individual stocks. The index fund does. You own shares of the fund. The fund owns the stocks. You don't get to vote. And that's been a big criticism, particularly of index funds. I don't know why index funds get singled out, but they tend to get singled out sometimes. Where it's like, maybe these funds shouldn't be voting these shares when the proxy voting comes in. Maybe you and I should vote because we're really the beneficial owner. We're really the ultimate owners, even though we're owning them through a fund. And so Vanguard came up with an investor choice, which it's not a perfect solution. It's not the same as voting if you own individual shares of companies, but it does give you more say in how Vanguard will vote your proportion of those shares. But here's the basic idea. You sign up for this, and you get to choose among 5 what they call policy options. And you can read about them here. I won't go in detail, but the basic idea is you can vote basically how the company wants you to vote. Which, by the way, when I look at like Apple or Berkshire, I tend to follow, I make my own decisions, but they tend to align pretty much with the company. That wouldn't always be true, by the way. But this would be an option. You could say, okay, for the percentage of stocks in my little index fund, I want you to vote those shares based on the company's recommendations. Then there are others like Egan-Jones and Glass Lewis. These are companies that evaluate all of the different decisions that are going to be voted on, and they make a recommendation to investors. This is how we think you should vote your shares. So you could investigate their approaches, and you could you could tell Vanguard, yeah, I really like the Egan-Jones approach or the Glass Lewis approach, and I want you to vote my shares that way. There are other policy options. Again, I'll link to this below the video. But I really do applaud Vanguard for doing this. Is it perfect? No. When I vote my shares in Apple, I can vote at the board of directors level. I can say, well, I do like these recommendations, but not this one. I can get very specific. With Vanguard Investor Choice, you don't get that level of detail, but I do think it's a big step in the right direction. And I think if you own Vanguard funds, it's really important to participate in it. If you want to have a say in companies and how they're managed, which I think as owners we should.